So this time we are going to go through the questions on exit ticket number 1. So question 1 is telling us to find just the domain of a of x. And so for the domain, I'm looking for things where the function is not defined. And in this function, I see both square roots here, and a division here. So division can't be 0. I can't divide by 0. So the division tells me that x minus 4 is not equal to 0, which tells me that x is not equal to 4. And so if I think about a number line, I know that the number 4, I'm not defined at that number. Then from this square root, I know that 40 minus 7x has to be greater than or equal to 0, which means that 7x is less than or equal to 40, or x is less than or equal to 40/7, which means that I have to be in that range. And from this square root, I know that 3x minus 1 has to be greater than or equal to 0, which means that 3x is greater than or equal to 1, so x is greater than or equal to 1/3, which means that I have to be in this range. And so the only place where I'm in all of the ranges is from 1/3 to 4, and from 4 to 47. So my domain is 1/3 inclusive to 4 union 4 to 47. For the second question, it's asking me to find both the domain and range. To find the domain, we follow a similar path, and I see that there is a square root. The thing inside of the square root has to be greater than or equal to 0, but the x minus 3 squared is greater than or equal to 0, so plus 16 means that the inside of the square root is in fact at least 16. So my denominator has the square root that is big enough that that's not a problem. In terms of division, the denominator is bigger than 0, so I'm not dividing by 0 ever. So my domain is all real numbers. To find the range, I like to start from the inside and work out. So the inside is just x minus 3. And so from x minus 3, I could have a range of negative infinity to infinity. But when I square that, I now have my range is going from 0 to infinity. So from 0 to infinity is my range of x minus 3 squared. If I add 16 to it, my range is now going from 16 to infinity. Taking the square root of that gives me a range of 4 to infinity. But if I'm dividing by 4 to infinity, that range, I'm getting the division. So I'm getting this 4 is becoming a 1/4, and dividing by something close to infinity is giving me something close to 0. So I'm going from 0 to 1/4. And then instead of a 1, I've actually got a negative 3 on the top, so I multiply that by negative 3. That gives me a 0 to negative 3/4, or putting it in order, my range is negative 3/4 to 0. Question 3 says to find f of negative 1. So for this, I plug negative 1 in for my x. And I get negative 2 plus 3, so I'm looking at f of 1. I'm looking at plugging 1 into the equation, and that gives me 1 plus 4 plus 1 is 6. If I plug in 3, the 2x plus 3 becomes 9. And 1 plus 4x plus 1 over x, so it becomes 1 plus 36 plus 1/9 would be 37 plus 1/9. I'm getting 37 plus 1/9. Or if I take 37 times 9, I get 333 plus 1 is 334/9. And that is my answer. Then the second part of this says plug in the 2x plus 3 in general. So f of x is just equal to 1 plus 4 times 2x plus 3 plus 1 over 2x plus 3. And this is equal to 1 plus 8x plus 12 plus 1 over 2x plus 3. I can combine that into 13 plus 8x plus 1 over 2x plus 3. And there's my answer.